If you struggle with bloating, even when you're eating healthy, your body is trying to tell you something important. Bloating isn't a diagnosis, it's a signal that something in the digestive system is out of balance. Today, I'll walk you through the 10 most common root causes I see in my practice and what your bloating might really mean. The first one, poor digestion. So, digestion starts long before food reaches your gut. If you're low in stomach acid, digestive enzymes, or bile flow from the liver gallbladder, food doesn't break down properly. Instead, it sits and ferments, and this creates gas, pressure, and bloating. So, this can happen when you're eating too fast, eating under stress, nutrient deficient, or taking acid blocking medications. So, when digestion isn't working, everything downstream struggles. The second one is SIBO and SIFO. So this is your small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and small intestinal fungal overgrowth. These are extremely common causes of bloating. And with these conditions, there's an overgrowth of bacteria and or yeast in the small intestine. I often find that people have both together, actually. But typical clues include bloating or pressure soon after meals, constipation, diarrhea, or alternating between the two, belching, reflux, or early satiety or early fullness. A really common pattern that patients with SIBO report is that they wake up in the morning with a flat stomach and then they get bloated after eating, and then the bloating gets progressively worse as the day goes on, and they feel like they look 6 months pregnant by the end of the day. So that's kind of a classic SIBO-SIFO pattern, but there can be other signs as mentioned. So the third one, food reactions and lack of nutrients. So low zinc, B vitamins, choline, magnesium, or fat-soluble vitamins like A and D, these can impair the health of the intestinal lining. So if we're low in those, it can reduce digestive enzymes, gut motility, and tolerance to certain foods. So this can then create gas, bloating, and inflammation after eating. Number four is medications that affect digestion. So antibiotics, they disrupt the bacterial balance. Proton pump inhibitors and antacids, really anything that lowers the pH, it decreases our ability to digest and absorb nutrients. NSAIDs like ibuprofen, they can be really damaging to the intestinal lining, especially if we take a lot over a long period of time. Opioids, they really slow down motility. A lot of people end up with constipation, but that will also lead to the bloating. Birth control pills and steroids can also affect the gut. So, all of these can contribute to imbalances in the microbiome, damage the intestinal lining, and weaken digestion or disrupt motility. Number five is environmental toxins. So, toxins such as mold, heavy metals, and chemical exposures can impair gut barrier integrity, and this can disrupt the microbiome balance. This leads to inflammation and, of course, bloating. I specifically want to mention glyphosate. This is a toxic herbicide. It's sprayed on a lot of our foods. I think it's especially problematic, but it has multiple mechanisms for how it disrupts our gut. It kills the beneficial bacteria. It allows the bad ones to thrive. It can definitely contribute to leaky gut or that intestinal hyperpermeability. It actually chelates, or it binds and makes really important minerals like magnesium, manganese, and zinc. It makes it unavailable to the body, and this results in weakened digestion and immunity. It can raise lipopolysaccharides, so that's the inflammatory component of the cell wall of the gram-negative bacteria. We also call it endotoxin because it's a toxin from within, and that drives a lot of inflammation, immune challenge, and hormone disruption in the body. The foods that are most heavily sprayed with glyphosate are the ones a lot of us are eating on a day-to-day basis. It's wheat, oats, barley, corn, soy, chickpeas, and lentils, and also peanuts. And so my recommendation, when I'm working with someone, is just to really focus on, if you're going to eat those foods, buy organic whenever possible. Again, because if it's organic, it's not going to be sprayed with glyphosate or other pesticides and toxins. Number six, the migrating motor complex. We'll call it MMC for short. We also call these cleaning waves. So the MMC is a rhythmic sweeping motion that cleans out the small intestine between meals. But here's the key. The MMC only activates during fasting. So if you're eating or snacking every 1 to 2 hours, these cleaning waves shut off. In my practice, I see many people who will snack or graze all day long, thinking it's healthier or better for their metabolism. But once we shift them to 3 solid meals a day with 4 or more hours between meals, and then ideally a 12, maybe up to 14-hour overnight fast, their bloating often improves dramatically. The space between meals combined with the overnight fast allows the MMC to do its job and move remaining food and bacteria through the digestive tract. Number 7 is the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve has a direct connection between the gut and the brain, and it strongly influences digestive function. So poor vagus nerve function can lead to slow motility, poor digestion, increased inflammation, and then the heightened bloating and food reactions. And so stress, poor sleep, infections, and trauma suppress vagal tone, and that makes bloating worse. Number 8 is stress and cortisol. So stress changes digestion at every level. It slows motility, it weakens stomach acid, reduces digestive enzymes, it increases food sensitivities, and it heightens pain perception. This is why bloating is often worse during times of stress, even if your diet stays the same. Number 9 is infections. So chronic infections can be another driver of bloating. This is where advanced gut microbiome testing can be really helpful to pick up infections that most conventional stool tests miss. I've worked with several patients that have had a chronic bacterial or parasitic infection. Their bloating resolves once we address the infection and restore balance to the intestinal ecosystem. Number 10, hormones. So they can also play a major role in chronic bloating. Conditions like endometriosis, ovarian cysts, and other hormone-related imbalances often create persistent abdominal pressure, pelvic inflammation, and changes in motility that feel very similar to digestive bloating. So many women notice their symptoms worsen around ovulation or before their period. And this is when hormone shifts can increase inflammation and fluid retention. So in these cases, the bloating isn't just a gut issue, it's also a reflection of what's happening in the reproductive system. So the bottom line is that bloating is a messenger. It's a clue that something is out of balance. Once we identify the root causes, whether it's SIBO, SIFO, poor digestion, stress, toxins, infections, food reactions, hormone fluctuations, or motility issues, we can create a targeted plan to help your gut heal. You don't have to live with daily bloating. If this approach resonates and you'd like personalized support, you're welcome to explore working with me at Aura Functional Medicine.